I don't know if you guys are anything like me, but when it came to homework, I had two children that just did a phenomenal job. I never had to check their homework. They were self-motivated, they were intrinsically motivated, and they just went at it. And I was getting called down to the school regularly to go to award ceremonies, to do all this great stuff. Well, that was my first two. And then I had two where I was getting called down to the school regularly because the performance was not so good. And I was going to different offices this time, talking to vice principals and guidance counselors and all that. And set a key to our kids' success in school is just if they show up to class and if they do their homework, they're pretty much going to get a passing grade because they're paying attention and they're learning some material. Well, I struggled a lot with this with my two of my children, and we had a seminar here called Raising Difficult Children in a Difficult World. It was taught by a gentleman who works in the probation department, so he was really working with at-risk kids. So this is initially designed for kids who are at risk. So as you read this material, some of the language will imply like these kids are in trouble. Well, it's because the kids he worked with were in trouble. But I found a lot of these things to be true about my kids too. And in group activity 3.4, I've just written some of my personal notes that when a child does not do well in school, when a student does not do well in school, they begin to associate with other people who are in the same boat. And I remember one of my sons just started hanging out with a bunch of low-life kids because he got put in the bonehead classes, if I can use that expression, and then that became the culture that he was hanging with. And as Peter mentioned, one of the most important things is who you hang out with, right? Number two, there's lots of rights and other activities. So they get eliminated from sports. They lose privileges. They just aren't going to be thriving in the school environment. They're typecast as troublemakers, and they just begin to lose hope. So this isn't to punish your child. This isn't to make life difficult for them. It's actually to help them thrive and succeed. Now, what I initially did was I go, okay, so we're going to check their progress reports. They still do progress reports in school, so are we just about there? About when do they come out? Okay, so, I'd cut my kids slack. Okay, you guys can do it. I'm going to do better this year. All the things that they say, and then progress reports would come out, and oh my gosh, they were not doing well. And so the hammer would come down, and you're going to be on restriction, and we're going to make you do your homework, and, until the quarter grades come out. And I don't know about you, when you were in high school, but most high school students, their time frame is now. Whatever's happening now is what's important. And like Peter shared earlier, if you discipline your children, and it's a long-term thing, I mean, they feel like they're in bondage for the next 400 years or something. And so I discovered that when I was putting my kids on restriction and trying to patrol their homework assignments and all that, I was actually punishing myself for the next 7 or 8 weeks because I had to be totally involved in this and tracking with it. Well, this freed me from that, and the burden of responsibility was taken off me as a parent and put directly on my teen, on my child, on my student. And so let me tell you how this works. If you go to the second page, middle of the paragraph, it says, when parents ask children if they finish their homework, children typically respond, I didn't have any homework assigned today, or, I already did my homework in class, I did it on the bus on the way home, or whatever, or they've completed it and it's in their locker at school. You guys ever get that? It's like, you go, really? I mean, I have a hard time believing that, but I have no way to prove that. Now, in recent years, I think there's more schools that are using online stuff where the teachers actually put the homework assignments out. So this system may be a little antiquated and you may need to adapt it. When my kids were going through, they didn't do that. But still, if you're the one that has to look stuff up online and you're the one checking, guess whose responsibility it still is? It's still yours. And you haven't given that over to them. So here's what I did with my kids. And this is with two of them. I said, you know what? This homework thing isn't going too well. So tell you what, let's just sit down and why don't you write down a list of everything that you love to do. And I will write a list of everything that I want you to do. And so we both sit down at the kitchen table. He's got a legal pad, I've got a legal pad, and we start writing. And I mean, he keeps peeking over at mine to go, homework, wash the dishes, clean your room. Yeah. My list is getting really long. I'm going, hey, how about you? And he'd run out playing basketball in the driveway, skateboarding, playing Nintendo, watching TV, hanging out with my friends. And then I'd start helping him. Go, dude, well, I know that you like to do this too. Is that so? Yeah, oh yeah. And I'm just egging him on. And his list is getting longer and longer, and I'm working on mine to get mine longer and longer too. And at the end I said, okay, in this case it was Tom, he was the first one. Tom, here's the deal. I'm going to make a deal with you right now. If you can do everything on your list when you come home from school, if you will do one thing on my list. Really? He was looking at this huge list I had, and he was looking, okay, you just do one thing. Okay, so the one thing I want you to do is when you get home from school, I want you to finish your homework before you do anything on your list. And he's looking at me like, oh my gosh, I just gave myself away. I wrote this long list of everything. I said, why don't you give me that list? And that's from today forward. I want you to have freedom. I want you to be able to play with basketball, Nintendo, watch TV, whatever it is. Take the dog for a walk that you want to do. But your primary responsibility at this stage in life is to be a student. And my primary is to go to work. And if I don't go to work and I don't do what I'm responsible for, then our family suffers, and if you don't do what you're supposed to do, then you're going to suffer, and we don't want that. So, here's how it plays out. Look at the back. Okay, you have a sheet like this that says homework assignments. So I created a little sheet, student's name, the class period, the homework assignment, and the teacher's initials. And so what we did is we actually filled all this in with the names of, algebra, history, whatever, and printed up a bunch of them that he carried in his backpack. So he had them when he went to school every day. So, okay, here's the deal, Tom. During class, I want you to write down the homework that is assigned for that day, and I want you to write it down in ink. And when you walk by the teacher's desk on your way out of the class, all we need to do is have the teacher look at it, go, yeah, that's right, and initial it. It takes a teacher about 3 seconds. Okay? Okay, the back side of this is the initial memo written to the teacher. So, in this case, it's Jeff, and Mr. Armstrong not only was his algebra teacher, I think, but he was also his football coach at Fullerton High for the freshman football. So Jeff wasn't doing too well. So in an effort to improve Jeff's performance in school, he's agreed to complete a daily homework assignment sheet. and your help is needed to make this possible. Each day, Jeff will write the assignment for your class in ink, capital letters, and ask you to initial it in ink, capital letters, right? So it'll just take a few seconds, just initial it, and then to show that he agrees with this, the teacher initials and dates it. What you just did is you captured the teacher's signature in ink, the initials. So you have that as a document that you can refer to later on, okay? So every day, my boys would go to work, or go to school. Every day, they had one of these, you know, we actually cut them in half. They're little half sheets. They fit in a notebook, whatever. Every class, they would write down their homework that they had. And every day, they just walked by the teacher's desk after every period. They'd initial it. And if they came home with any of this blank, sorry, it's an all or nothing deal. It's either we have all your homework assignments, or you don't do anything. You do nothing on your fun list. Is that kind of harsh? What this does is it creates immediate, painful consequences. I mean, I have had my sons, so we live up here in the President homes, and they rode the bus to Fullerton High School. They would be sitting on the bus, ready to come home, notice that they had missed a signature. They would get off the bus, run back to the classroom, desperate to get that teacher's signature and to get back on the bus. And there's times they miss the bus, but they would rather walk a half an hour home so that they could get their homework done and do their fun stuff than to be just cut off from having fun. What that did for us, and then we'll take questions. What that did for us is 5 school nights a week. I had no clue what they were supposed to be doing, because they could have been faking me out. Maybe they were telling me the truth, maybe not. And it eliminated that completely. Secondly, they might have been doing homework 1 or 2 nights a week instead of all 5. And I thought, with this system, at least we can get up to 3 nights a week, 4 nights a week, 5 nights a week. So they're doing their homework more consistently. The other thing that did for us is it created a very immediate and painful consequence. I mean, they were absolutely bummed when they could not do anything on their fun list. I'm sorry, can't do that. You can mow the lawn, you can vacuum your room, you can read a book, you can do whatever, but you are not going to do anything on this list. Now, what this did, though, is it was a huge relief, because the consequences were immediate, they were painful, they made their impression, but the next day was a new day, and they were free to start all over again. So in my other system of having them on restriction, for 4 or 5 weeks until, that seemed like forever. In this system, they could redeem themselves the next day. They could get back on track. They could be free. Have you ever been punished over a long period of time? And doesn't that just grind on you and just, wake up every day? And then, your relationship with whoever's punishing you is all messy during that period of time. And it's no fun for you, it's no fun for them. This way, it was immediate, it was painful, and then it was over. And so everybody got a fresh start every day. So, you can read the rest of the material that's here, but basically that is just a tool that benefited me and my family in a situation where I was just pulling my hair out. Now, there is, on the last page, with this little picture at the bottom, there is a section that talks about, okay, what if they refuse to cooperate? Well, then they just get nothing. And you just hold out. And they just get nothing. And pretty soon they get tired of getting nothing. And they go, okay, well, if I can't see my friends, I can't watch TV, I can't play Nintendo, I can't, play basketball outside with a hoop. I mean, just, it may take a little while for them to cave, but that is going to be your agreement. Okay, so any questions about this system or how to implement it? Yes?
You're obviously checking the homework then?
Yes. So what happens? They get home. I said, let's see the homework sheet. Let's set it right here on the kitchen table wherever they do homework. When everything on that list is done, you call me and I'm going to come check it. So I did check, but I wasn't having to hound them for 2 or 3 hours to get it done. So you go back and okay, algebra, page 47, all the even questions. Let's see them. Show them to me. And I would spot check to make sure that they were being done correctly and not just any numbers. And sometimes I'd have, I think you need to redo this. This isn't very good. Or, write an essay or whatever it was. So yeah, I was checking. But the responsibility was on them to perform, and it wasn't on me to make sure that they did it. I mean, I didn't have to be on their case. And it relieved a lot of tension. I mean, the ground rules were laid. It was tough. But kids who are not intrinsically motivated have to be extrinsically motivated. And this was the easiest way we found to do it without haranguing them all the time. Other question? Oh, absolutely. Yeah, grades came up. Now, grades probably weren't at what he could have gotten at his highest potential. I mean, one of my sons tested for the GATE program. I mean, he was bright. He has a high IQ. He could sit down and read a thicker novel than I would ever want to read. But he was just not motivated for homework. So he had the potential, in my opinion, to pull all A's and B's. Okay, but as long as he was passing with C's, I go, okay, that's as much. So it's not get the highest grade you can. It's just, would you please pass this class so you can graduate? Yeah. Sometimes as parents, we're driven to have our kids get the highest grade because it makes us feel good, right? And some of these kids just aren't going to do that. Yes?
I was just curious because you're attending this for all ages, even high school?
Even high school?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I did do this, you can do this for the school, no problem. They actually have baskets in the office when you're taking some of each day and the other sheet.
Okay.
I actually did this for a year with my son because he wasn't very motivated with homework either. But what I found is that the teachers they were frustrated with me because they said at that stage of the game they really want their kids to have accountability on their own and not have mommy and daddy breathing down their neck, and they wanted to have him to get that natural motivation here itself. So this is here where we aren't doing it. But I agree with you, yes. I mean, we were on top of it for sure, but we met sort of backwards alliance. Because the teachers were feeling like we were dangerous.
Well, in an ideal world, every kid's going to be intrinsically motivated and learn to do this on their own, right? In the case with 2 of my kids, it was either they were going to fail the class, and one of my sons was on an IEP. I mean, it got so bad. He had some other issues going on, where there had to be high structure and high accountability. And
that's different because when you have a child with an IEP, they totally cooperate.
Yeah.
And if you have a 504 or an IEP, they will sign. They won't even give you a hard time.
Yeah.
But if you have just a regular learner, That's not with any sort of special plan, and then you try to do these things, you need a different type, at least in a public school, you need a different type of response.
Yeah.
That's been my experience.
Yeah, well, that's why I tried to make it as easy as possible on the teacher. Just go, hey, would you take a glance at this and initial it? And every single one of them cooperated with it. So, you know, I don't want to burden the teacher undue. I mean, my wife is a teacher. I know what teachers go through, and it's hard. It's hard. It's very difficult. But my experience is every teacher cooperated, and I don't know, you know, what the situation is. And I agree. I mean, by high school, wouldn't you hope that they were doing this on their own?
Well, fortunately, I mean, we do have sort of a system in Haag where you can check every day online
Yeah.
to see where your kids, if there's any missing assignments. Because most of the schools, I know at least Freya anyway, has the parent portal where you can go.
That's great.
Log in. I do every day. I log in. Oh, look at that. We're missing an assignment. We got to take care of that. You know,
Okay.
so that helps.
Yeah, so hey, you can modify this program, create your own. But the point is, it's daily and it's immediate and it's painful, and then they're free to start the next day. There is a statement in here about not making up assignments. You know, so I figured if my son was only doing one assignment a week and now he's doing 4, at least we're ahead of the game. We're ahead of where we were, you know, last week or the week before. So, okay, yes.
A comment and a question. I'm a basketball coach at Youth Pacific, and I have 15 children that I check their grades because when they're on scholarship, we're actually paying for their education.
Sure.
So if they're not eligible, it's on us.
Yes.
So what I see is because these athletes have never had a parent that have kept them accountable, most of them, they have never been held to any standard that says this is the value that we have.
Yeah.
Therefore, this is going to be your behavior.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have grade checks for them. This is college students. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And they either, early in the year, they don't practice and they don't play. There's obviously a consequence of a value that they enjoy. And then they have 6 a.m. workouts if they don't come through in terms of a grade check and so forth.
Yeah.
My question is, in developing the character, that instead of the behavior modification that we're doing,
Yeah.
how do we develop that character that says, okay, this is the value,
Yes.
so I'm going to take away the accountability, but they're left with that value that says this is important. And
Well-
we're not just putting a structure around it to really make up for their lack of character.
Yeah. Well, and I can just speak from my own experience. When a child feels like a loser, they are demotivated to start with. And so my goal, at least with us, is to get them to a point where they see that they can accomplish a certain grade point average, that they are successful, that they are being affirmed, that they are making a difference, that they aren't in the dregs like they were, and have them begin to own that and to enjoy that and to make that their own, and then become intrinsically motivated. I mean, the son I'm talking about just got a huge promotion at his job, was recognized, you know, at a national training deal, and I'm just going, is this the same kid? You know, yes, success, but oh my gosh, the battle on the way is just kind of crazy sometimes, right? So you hope that by experiencing success, they will feel proud of their success, go, you know what, this is really valuable and it works, and I know I can do it, and it's not that tough. You're getting them motivated to get there. Okay.